The International Affairs Forum continues tonight with a topic that impacts everyone. I'm joined now by Dr. Mary Carol Klein, who will be speaking at the forum tonight. Thank you so much for being here with us, Doctor.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Now, you're going to be speaking about falling energy prices and the impact that has on the rest of the world. But first, let's just focus on the U.S. When that happened, when energy prices, oil prices, and gas prices fell in November, drivers were celebrating a lot. Why did that happen in the first place?
Yeah, and I think it's a natural reaction. I think we've had a long time of high prices, but I think we really have it's a complicated scenario, but we have two main drivers behind that drop, and quite an unexpected one from the perspective of most experts. Certainly, I'm a political scientist. I'm not an energy economist necessarily, but if you look at what's happening here in the United States and what's happening from major oil producers such as Saudi Arabia and their decision in November, the collapse came due to an oversupply on the market, and that came from the kind of technological breakthroughs here in the States that has led to increased oil production, and then a very deliberate decision by OPEC and particularly Saudi Arabia not to take supply of oil off the market, so to allow the price to drop. Typically they would they're called a swing producer, and they would take supply off the market in order to keep price stability, and they've decided not to do that this time.
That was a good thing for many American drivers here, but there's also many global implications. What are some of those?
Well, particularly if you look at energy producers such as Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia actually can produce oil at a lower price, so you're not going to see an incredibly unstable situation. They can withstand a lower oil price. That's not true for places like Russia or Venezuela. And these countries that are oil producers, their budgets, their government budgets, their social services, much of what they do depend on oil revenues into the budget. And you see a collapse in that. You see a collapse in the ability of the state in some places to function. And particularly in the case of Russia, if you combine that with economic sanctions due to the crisis in Ukraine and the collapse of the ruble, you have a very kind of volatile economic situation there.
How much of an impact is that going to be in that country on a day-to-day basis?
Well, in the short term, they have the kind of savings. They have what they call, in a sense, kind of rainy day funds to help assuage and to help counter the negative impact of that. But over the long run, I think you already see, in fact, yesterday, GM announced they're closing a factory in St. Petersburg. I mean, you do see an economy that is not going to recover. If you combine those elements I just spoke about, it's not going to recover for some time.
It is very interesting when you're talking about geopolitics and energy prices and that sort of thing, that what's good for us here in America, or for many here in America, might not be so good for others in our country or around the world. And that's what you're going to be speaking about tonight at the International Affairs Forum. It's at Millikan Auditorium at 6 o'clock, and the doors open at 5:15, so you do have a little bit of time to get down there. The cost is $10, but students and educators get in for free. Dr. Mary Carol Klein, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks for having me.